In this lesson, we're going to look at statistics used in research and also ethical guidelines when conducting research. You should all be very familiar with these descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics are just gathering information, taking large amounts of information or data and consolidating it and making sense of it. So first of all, the mean, that's just the average. And of course, you know how to find the average. You add up all of the data and then you divide by what number you collected. The median, you have to arrange all the numbers in order from least to greatest, and whatever the middle value is, that is the median. The mode, that's the most frequent number in your data set. The range, that is simply subtracting the smallest number from the largest number. Standard deviation. If you take statistics, you're going to have to learn a lot about standard deviation and the equation. For psychology, fortunately, you just need to know what it is. So it is how far a score deviates from the average. So you would find the average, and then the outline scores, you would say, okay, this deviates by 10 points or 10% from the average. On the other hand, inferential statistics, this is using charts, graphs, etc., to represent information to help make sense of it, okay, to make an estimate or a prediction after you've conducted research. So let's look at one. So if you look at this chart about tobacco use, what kind of conclusions could you draw from this? Well, first of all, something that would jump right out at you is more males in this particular county use tobacco than females. That would bring up a further question. Why is it so much higher for males than females? And you would have to say probably because it says tobacco use. So it would also include like smokeless tobacco, which would be more common among boys or men. And then you look at the information represented in the chart, and it also jumps out at you that younger adults, particularly right after college here, have higher usage of tobacco than older individuals. And the next thing we're going to look at are the ethical guidelines for research. And these are outlined by the American Psychological Association. So for all research purposes, they must follow these guidelines that I'm going to go over. First of all, anyone who participates in a research study cannot be forced. It must be voluntary. You cannot force somebody to do that. So, for example, if you're in a college class and a professor says he's conducting research and he wants to use your class for the experiment, and you would have to take part in it to get a grade, that would be unethical because you cannot be forced. So it has to be voluntary. You have to have written consent, informed consent, and if somebody cannot write, you could do a verbal consent. If it's a child under the age of 16, a parent could sign. There is one exception. If you are out in public, you're fair game. You don't have to get consent. And that's kind of scary, but think about it. If you're going to the mall and you want to do a research study to see if people are honest. So you have a person drop money, and then you want to see if other people will pick it up and give it back, or will they take it? Are they honest or not? Well, if you went and told them beforehand, we're doing a research study to see if people are honest, well, everybody would pick up the money and give it back. So if you're out in public, you don't have to have written consent. You have to keep people's names anonymous when you publish your results. You either call them subject and then a number, or subject and a letter. You cannot cause any type of risk or harm to anyone who's participating in research. If there is a slight possibility you have to stop the research immediately. And finally, after the research is over, you must debrief the participants in the research study. You have to tell them, what were your findings, what was the purpose, and explain the entire process.